Good evening, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. I think done. Right. Yes. Of course, you know very well about Unacademy. This is India's largest and the best online education platform. You might be already aware of it. Ladies and gentlemen, right. What are the benefits you are likely to get once you enroll yourself in an academy? Ladies and gentlemen, if that's going to be your question, yes, of course, you got daily live classes. You can chat with your educator. You can engage in all-round discussion, productive discussions especially, and you can also ask all your genuine doubts and participate in the answer polls. All these things you can do when the session's going on. You might be aware. And you got structured courses here, which is completely based on UPSC Civil Service Examination pattern and syllabus as well, so that we ensure you never waste your time and energy. So otherwise, you stay on track, right? One particular, the thing we are keep on emphasizing, you might be already aware. What is that? It's not knowing the stuff, knowing to deliver the stuff, because delivery matters. And it's not what you deliver, rather how do we deliver we are talking about. So ladies and gentlemen, for that we have got a mechanism to evaluate your preparation, especially that in terms of your various levels we are talking about, by conducting regular mock tests and quiz programs. And you also get a detailed analysis, a report based on your performance. You come to know where you are strong, where you are weak, the time you have consumed in solving a particular question. Ladies and gentlemen, once you enroll yourself in an academy, you got unlimited access, more than 1 million videos, whatever may be your electronic device, whether it is mobile phone, desktop, laptop. Ladies and gentlemen, irrespective of your electronic device, you can learn from anywhere, anytime. What you have to do, please download an Academy learning app immediately, whether it is Android or iOS. Ladies and gentlemen, one second. Right. What do you have to do? Yes, having downloaded, who is this interacting with you? Ladies and gentlemen, of course, this is Success Sampath from Chennai. You might be already aware, right? And with unique experience of, the got exposed to the fields of engineering, management, and legal education. Ladies and gentlemen, with 25 years of experience in the field of coaching, especially shaping the careers of civil service aspirants. With my team, I could witness the humble results, of course, 250 plus results. Now that as IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS, all my kids are working in different parts of India, some of them in abroad as well, you might be aware, and part of Union External Affairs Ministry, right? Yes. And you can also ask me, what's your vision, sir? If that's going to be your question, ladies and gentlemen, to be part of the solution by simplifying the complexity, to begin with, to embrace Indian youths by providing them career solution, later to embrace the global community. Fortunately, this particular vision of mine is completely in alignment with an academy's vision. We are working together. Together, we are building communities. Ladies and gentlemen, so you know that it is that way, so that you become officer or leader in your own capacity. Ladies and gentlemen, you can also reach me through Telegram channel, say Unacademy underscore Sampath. You can also reach me through, that even the very Unacademy YouTube channel, where you can watch a lot of my videos, whether it is the very popular and highly scoring optional subject sociology, or even the essay paper, or ethics and integrity. Even today's, interaction is centered around this ethics and integrity, and also some of the topics belonging to that international relations. You please watch those videos and get benefited. Not only that, having downloaded an academy learning app, you can also watch a lot of my live videos there. And also that if you're already subscriber part of this an academy, you can watch my previous videos. That last 5 year questions that we already discussed, many questions came out of that, the last prelims also. Not only that, that the very feedback we received from you, that encouraged us. I felt incentivized. We as a team felt proud of it. And what happened, right, that prompted us that to engage yourself, that in the discussion over variety of segments of GS main for mains also. Several questions came. Even the topics we discussed, part of ethics and integrity, several questions came. You please watch those videos. you will start connecting them. Use my ID, say Success Sampath or Sampath Irvingidam, so that you get benefited. Not only that, you can also reach me through my social network to get benefited more. Ladies and gentlemen, it is right time. Let me take you to the next level. It's not only me, we more than 100 plus top educators of India with 20 to 25 years of, that subject matter, expertise, field specific experience. Ladies and gentlemen, on the part of Unacademy, we are waiting there to support you under UPSC Civil Service Examination. You might be already aware, we got more than 15,000 courses. Ladies and gentlemen, small aim is crime. Think big, aim high. Only when you aim at star, at least you can land on moon. People say, no? But let's aim at star, let's reach there because it's possible. SpaceX, Elon Musk, space tourism, we are talking about. It's, everything is realistic now. It's all those stories. It is that way. That the great things will take time. It's not a quick fix solution. We are for long-lasting solution. The permanency of relationship. As I said in the beginning, together we are building community. Ladies and gentlemen, when that's a scenario, there is no leadership without your passions. There is no leadership without your passion, involvement. Wholehearted devotion, I say. There is no leadership without consistency. There is no leadership without focus, without your perseverance. Because we understand all those parameters, ladies and gentlemen. Once you become officer as IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS, you might be aware you're going to be part of, the steel pillars of Indian administration for the next 25 to 30 years of wonderful career. That demands your minimum, 2 years of devotion. Because in the examination pattern itself got, that distributed over 1 year, your preparation should be for minimum 1 year. So, ladies and gentlemen, keeping all those parameters in mind, we have devised under UPSC Civil Service Examination 2 major programs, Plus program and Iconic program. What is this Plus? When you ask me, of course, here you got live classes, test series, unlimited practice session, structured schedule mechanisms, whether it is from 1 month to maximum 36 months, for which we have got program. A flexibility in choosing your course, that you witness on the part of Unacademy. Why? You may be college going guy, you may be, work going aspirant, and you can plan accordingly. It should not be a stressful activity. Learning should be fun. And given time period, availability, you plan accordingly. That is why we have devised course, in such a way, ladies and gentlemen. Please use my referral ID, say Success, to avail maximum 10% discount. Of course, almost 9,000 rupees, that you get benefited if you're going to use my referral ID, say Success. This is Success Sampath interacting with you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Unacademy. More than this, the Plus program. It is in addition to that of, that the advantages of, Plus program, we strongly recommend Iconic program. Why? Because you will be allotted a personal coach, a mentor to understand your nature and to suggest study planner accordingly. It's almost like individual attention, though it is virtual learning. Ladies and gentlemen, you understand that way. So, that from, the 12 months to 24 months, 36 months, you got program. Here too, you can use my referral ID, say Success, to avail maximum 10% discount. Ladies and gentlemen, it's almost 15,000 rupees, that you save if you're going to use my referral ID, the Success. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you to the next level. Not only that, for all popular optional subjects, of course, the Success Sampath, I'm sitting in front of, that I'm, that subject matter expert, when it comes to sociology, which is highly scoring, you might be aware, very popular optional subject. Not only that, all popular optional subjects for which, we extend our support on the part of Unacademy. You can choose, that your optional subject in such a way. Please go for this, referral code, say Success, to avail maximum 10% discount. Here too, you get, that 5K benefit, 5,000 rupees benefits, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way. I think it's not only that. One particular, the program is going on the part of Unacademy. You would have already, the participated. What is that? It's fortnightly program. Learning is fun. You have to understand, that otherwise you yearn while you learn. By participating, you can encash, you can, get incentivized, encouraged. The moment you participate in the Unacademy Combat program, of course, that begins, that another edition, the February 7th, that the 2021 we are talking about. For that, you have to enroll yourself. Once that win, in that particular competition, you might be aware, you can, that win a lot of prizes, including, 3 months, that free, the plus subscription courses and amazing prices, that. So you may feel encouraged more. You please participate, get benefited. Not only that, 2021, 2022, 2023 aspirants, if you're aiming for, maybe depending upon your circumstances, the course begins, from 21st January. You might be already aware. You South Indians, ladies and gentlemen, of course, if you want exclusive English program, Unacademy, that people like me there are ready to support you. Not only that, whether it is bilingual program or exclusive Hindi medium, ladies and gentlemen, do not worry. Chinta mat karo. You got, courses here, and that we are very happy to support you. Of course, variety of teams, already waiting there on the part of Unacademy to support you. Coming back to this iconic program, as I said, you will be allotted a coach, a personal coach, a mentor to understand your nature. You might be aware. So we are talking about, he or she understands your nature and suggests study planner. The very genuine feedback you get, that will transform you like anything. Of course, that you will be trained in terms of answer writing exercises on everyday basis. And also, that you will be, if you need some clarification over some topics, you will be allowed to attend booster session. And also, that you will be part of, high intensity workshops. You join quintessentials of civil service examination preparation and associated aspirants, so that you become, definitely you become topper in that way, ladies and gentlemen. So, all these, measures we have on behalf of this, on behalf of you, through this iconic program, of course, that will accelerate your preparation with our daily input. We see the content. Of course, you can download PDF materials. If you're already subscriber, if you already enrolled yourself in, that Unacademy, ladies and gentlemen, you can also upgrade yourself. Please talk to our team. They're very happy to, that support you, ladies and gentlemen. So the new course begins. That it's the iconic price hike. That you would have already aware. That it's going to be from 25th January. Please rush yourself so as to seize the opportunity. Not only that, you can also go for, combination of programs. UPSC civil service examination, you can choose, general studies iconic or optional plus program. You can otherwise exclusive plus program for both, general studies as well as optional subject. Here too, you can use my referral ID, say Sampath. The success, of course, this is success Sampath interacting with you. Use my ID, say success, to avail maximum 10% discount, ladies and gentlemen. I think it is right time. Let me take you in to the very purpose and direction of, today's interaction. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. Ek second, please. Ek minute, of course. Right. You can also refresh yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this discussion is centered around, that ethics and integrity subject matter, part of your UPSC civil service examination mains. You might be already aware. I understand a lot of newcomers on board. I take you, that I take you. I feel, I'm responsible to answer all your queries parallelly. And some of you already attended all my, the videos, previous videos. Please bear, bear with me. Of course, that I have to take into account, the newcomers too. Yes, when that is the scenario, there comes my responsibility to introduce, this subject matter. Of course, UPSC civil service examination we are talking about. The civil service examination, that especially mains, the civil service examination, when I say mains, you might be aware, which has got the responsibility of, 1750 marks, the mains written. And once you, only when you qualified, you're qualified in prelims, you will be allowed to sit in the main examination. You might be already aware, where you see the split up like this. The very, the general studies has got, the role of 1000 marks. Of course, optional subject, has got the role of, 500 marks. You might be aware. The 250 marks meant for your essay paper, very well. In that, 1000 marks meant for general studies. Of course, you got, 4 papers. Of course, GS paper 1, 2, 3, 4. This discussion is centered around GS4. What is that? GS4, this is otherwise called ethics and integrity. Per paper, it is otherwise 250 marks. When, because 4 into 250, 1000 marks. When I say 250 marks, what is the split up? You can ask me. 120 marks meant for your theories, concepts, and, the contribution of several thinkers, social scientists, philosophers, and different religions. When you apply the same, that in terms of, the Indian contextuality, why even the environmental domain, even the international relations, the global context too, of course, that there comes ultimately case studies for 130 marks. So the 250 marks split up is this 120 plus 130. You got the idea? So ladies and gentlemen, this is ethics and integrity, a subject matter, part of your UPSC civil service examination mains, that too GS4. Before going there, what is ethics? This is a continuation of the several discussions we had already. What is ethics, ladies and gentlemen? It's otherwise called, principles, standards, the value system, that, in place. Otherwise, that you get whenever you are confused, whenever you are perplexed, so that you stay in peace, you stay composed, you practice emotional intelligence too, part of ethics. So this ethics, what I'm talking about, of course, an instrument of social control, I say. What do you mean by social control? Regulating the behavior of the society, controlling society. Why do you control? Why you have to control the society? Otherwise, there will be no social order. There will be no peace then. Because peace is a prerequisite for prosperity. Without peace, there is no economic development. Without peace, there is no prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, so only when there is, economic development, you can, that the roti, kapda, makan, all basic amenities, meant for the people can be met. Then only people will be happy. We are talking that way. So you need peace. There should be order. Of course, even, that, I need not mention that particular point here. Of course, what I'm talking about, this particular ethics is all about, ensuring peace on the part of an individual, in an organization, in an institution, in a community, in a society, in a humanity, on the whole, the sentiment of, the creations we are talking about. Because we have got environmental ethics too. It's not only restricted to humanity. So an instrument of social control we call ethics. You can ask me, that's belonging to the knowledge-based society. The very instrument of social control belonging to knowledge-based society. அறிவார்ந்த சமுதாயத்தை உருவாக்குவதே எங்கள் நோக்கம். Maybe in Tamil I'm saying. Where predominance of, the service sector, you might be aware. So this is not, the only, the instrument of social control. You might be aware, you already witnessed, the variety of social control, the means of social control may be magic, religion, the law. Law came from science, of course, because science talks about, that logical connectivity. Of course, rationalization, reasoning, we are talking about. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about all these things. Yes, what is that? So the magic, which is meant for hunting and food gathering society. Religion, of course, traditional agrarian society. Law, which is meant for industrial society. Because, that you got variety of instruments of social control, but the law itself has got variety of limitations, you might be aware. Sometimes, that it becomes impractical. The rigidity, because of the limitations of the law, you need another tool. Because when you are entering into 21st century, you need a different tool. How come you can provide solution to the 21st century with the tools of, the 18th or 17th or 19th century? That demands your next version, the creativity, innovation. That's why we are talking about it. Because, when I say ethics, which is more than law, but not compromising law. Why you need ethics? Because of the limitations of the law. It's not Sampath, success Sampath is talking about the limitations of the law in front of you. You already aware. Because when the judgment given on, Sabarimala issue by the Supreme Court of India, there came, protest in the very Kerala. You might be aware, Sabarimala issue. So the law without social sanction is ineffective. Of course, fortunately, the central government decided to go for 18 months suspension for this, that law on, the agricultural, the reforms. You might be aware, we are talking about agricultural laws. We're talking about, in spite of the, the protest there from, small and marginal farmers, the Delhi, you might be aware. After all, the law, that when I say law, it is not, that one day fine morning you got the law. It is in evolution. You have to understand. How? Because, the social values are general guidelines to an action. And, that when, general guidelines, you may follow or you may not follow. Not to kill, not to harm, not to lie. You may or you may not. But, that you make it mandatory. It becomes social norms. Specific, the guidelines you talk about, that it is very mandatory. You should follow. But when you document or formalize this social norm, that becomes your law. The law which governs the nation. Maybe you call constitution, and variety of the legal setup we have, cutting across various spheres of life, even including the penal mechanism, say IPC. Ladies and gentlemen, so it is an evolution. You got law. After all, reflecting the needs of the people, will of the people, reflecting the value system of the people, the value system which is said to be the part and parcel of the culture, the very value system what we are talking about. part and parcel of the culture. It's a way of life, style of life. The very culture is otherwise, the blueprint of the society. It is reflecting the will of the people, reflecting the culture of the society, way of life of the society. How come it can go against? But on Sabrimala issue, that whatever maybe even the Jayalalitha, the ex-chief minister of Tamil Nadu, she brought 3 ordinances. She could not get support of the people. She withdrew later. Ban on forced religious conversion, ban on slaughterhouses. You might be aware. A law without social sanction is ineffective. Then how come, that why there is a gap between law and the will of the people or needs of the people? Whether people yet to reach that level, otherwise law is on paper. Law has become impractical. Otherwise, law puts limitation on human beings. Because we are living in the world, even the essay, one of the titles you witness already, part of your essay paper, you know well. What is that? It's not a policy paralysis. Paralysis of implementation. We already have, a myriad, multiple legal systems here, multiple law. What we need, that there should be strict implementation. Because a person part of the implementation, of course, lacks that, what is that? The morality, ethicality. That's different scenario. So this subject is all about that. What is the use of having, creating institutions and, that all those things, and when letter and spread, people are not ready to strictly adhere to. Of course, here there is a gap between what's on law, what is law, and the mentality of the people, or implementation by the very bureaucrats. That's why the limitations we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, it looks like a different domain, and has become indifferent to the needs of the people, will of the people. Of course, Max Weberian term, you might be aware, the bureaucracy. In bureaucracy, all public servants, that they became like iron cage trapped individuals. They are unable to move this side, that side. You might be aware, we are talking that way also. Why? Because the hierarchy, the rules and regulation, the restriction, unable to deal with pragmatic situation, unable to deal with the expertise, subject matter expertise. Yes, it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So ethics is more than law, but not compromising law. And also, that it's not too ideal ground. It's pragmatic, very practical. We are talking about, of course, that's, that. So it's, but when I say ethics, ladies and gentlemen, the world of legal system, law, only on violating law, only when you are penalized, you feel guilty. But in the world of ethics, even thinking of violating, you feel guilty. Cheh, why I thought this way? Cheh, oh babri, oh my God. Cheh, this chair moment. The chair moment happened in the United States of America, The very United States of America recently witnessed, the banana republic moment, the Trumpism. He's not ready to, facilitate the smooth transfer of power. But even the very letter, Joe, I won. Oh, the oldest democracy in the world. Twice, he has been impeached. The Trumpism we are talking about, of course, chair moment. Of course, that unfortunately the Trump is not feeling that way, that others started feeling, that even the very speaker, that Nancy Pelosi, of course, everyone, including everyone. So, it's a banana republic moment for the United States of America, which is said to be the champion of democracy, as if trying to promote democracy everywhere and leading to regime change also, you might be aware. Is it not making mockery, that of democracy, double standards? It is that way we are talking about. Chair moment. Oh, babri. Oh, my goodness. This is, that. So, in the world of ethics, even thinking of violating, you feel guilty. Yeah, because, that why the connectivity? Thoughts leading to action. Action, the long run, of course, that the behavior. The behavior in the long run, of course, that you call, put together habit, behavior. The behavior and habit in the long run, of course, becomes your character. The character is part and parcel of your personality. The personality is the representation of the culture you belong to. You are the symbolic representative of your own, the culture. If you say this is what my personality, you are the representation of your culture. So thoughts, troubleshooting at the thought process, that the mindset game, the ethics keeps you with the right mindset. Of course, you got choices in front of you. You got, that whether to choose this right or comfort. you are guided by ethical way, the value system, principles, standards guiding you, so that you take the moral path, ethical path. Well trained mind never commits mistakes, so that you stay at peace, you stay composed, you become role model, you become source of inspiration for others. Otherwise, by being that, you become that ultimately you ensure peace in that particular environment, that facilitates economic development or prosperity, ultimately happiness of everyone. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about. So whenever you are confused, in spite of that, the deviance happens. You can't be always like this. Huh? You can't be always. Ups and downs in life, I understand. Even that's what Ratan Tata says. When your ECG is going to be ups and downs, you are alive. When it is straight line, you are no more like DC current. So life is all about dealing with imperfections more than perfection. We are talking about that way. So you should know. So though there may be some deviations, you come back. There'll be speedy recovery because well-trained mind. You've been properly socialized, through the various agents of socialization. Charity begins at home, from your family, educational institution, of course, that the schools and colleges, official environment, your community, and your social media nowadays, because you got WhatsApp University. Oh my God, beware of that. We are talking about that way, of course, ladies and gentlemen. So this subject, but when I say ethics guiding you, different value system for different domains. Because when I say ethics, that ethics may be of a personal relation or basic human values. Ethics in terms of social relation. Ethics in terms of public administration. So different set of the recipe. It's almost like formula. And also, ethics in the environmental domain. As I said in the beginning, the ethics is not restricted to the humanity alone. The planet of the earth has got other species too. The flora, fauna, the living, non-living, biotic, abiotic, even visible and invisible forms of life. Our obligation towards them. So environmental ethics, not only that, the international arena, because India's, the GDP, the 50% of GDP, because of the thing, that India engages the rest of the nations in the world. Even Prime Minister Modi ji was accused of, keep on traveling here, there, and it has got its own benefit. Diaspora diplomacy, ethical diplomacy, more than economic diplomacy, ethical diplomacy, cultural diplomacy. We're talking about that way to make India a Vishwa Guru in the multipolar world. Of course, that what value system, it's not only me attitude. As United States of America, the double standard, Uncle Sam practiced. No, I'm not talking about that. We have to become superpower, Vishwa Guru, among other superpowers in the world, in the multipolar world. World is one family, Vasudeva Kudumbakam, where we all nations are stakeholders. That's why, that we are keep on emphasizing, even the UN 75, our Prime Minister Manmohan ji. See, I'm saying Manmohan. I'm living in the past. I stand corrected. He has become Mount Mohan. That's why crisis, change of God, the Prime Minister Modi ji we are talking about. He emphasized international institutions should be reformed, restructured, so as to be relevant to to deliver the modern day goods to reflect the ground reality. It is that way we are talking about. So what is the point? It's not only me attitude. The world is one family for everyone. Vasudeva Kudumbakam. Let me repeat that. Where we are talking about, that the realism, idealism, cosmopolitanism, constructivism, equality of life, the value system there. Ethics in international relations. Of course, so when I say ethics, that different, that the value system for different domain, different domains we are talking about. So we have to practice that. That one shoe cannot fit everyone. Fit for all approach will not what we are talking about. That if you expect fish to climb a tree throughout the life, the fish will think it's a fool. Different yardsticks for different occasion. That's what leadership, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, that. So variety of videos we already shared with you. You please watch them to benefit more. When it comes to the ethics concepts, theories, that the ethics and integrity as a subject matter, the contribution from different quarters, maybe variety of philosophers, social scientists, thinkers, even different religions. We discuss Western moral thinkers, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. They said knowledge is virtue. Why this guy committing unethical activity? Because he's unaware. But in the world of law, Maxim says ignorance of fact is not an excuse. Suppression of fact is crime. Ignorance of fact is not an excuse. But the Western moral thinkers say he did unethical activity because he is unaware. Oh, hello. Eh? It is that way, that. So knowing is doing. So that's what Socrates and Plato. There comes Aristotle within the school, Western moral thinkers, to counter knowing is not doing. You have to apply, use your brain. He made it very pragmatic. Not only that, we talk about, the Immanuel Kant who said, that categorical imperatives. All human beings should be treated as, ends, not as means. So unfortunately, what happened today? We started respecting Rolls Royce, chartered flight, everything, and we started using human beings. That's a problem. Exploiting human beings. That's a problem. So Immanuel Kant said, all, the Immanuel Kantism, Kantism we're talking about. What is the point? All human beings should be treated as ends, not as means. I'm talking about. There comes another gentleman, American philosopher, of course, John Baudelaire Roberts. We discuss all those things. You please watch those videos. So let me give brief. What is the point? John Baudelaire Roberts, that based on his book, the theory of, that justice, social justice, of course, he dealt with, of course, hypothetical subjects to establish, a particular subject, with social justice, a particular society with social justice. What are all the principles you have to agree on? There, ultimately, people arrived at conclusion: equality and equity. So ethics is all about moving from equality to equity. We are all human beings, but there are vulnerable sections too. The unique problem on the part of those people, that's what called equity. You have to understand, and it's not level playing field. And they should be given special concession, that the protection, positive discrimination. Even general category, all upper caste people need not be rich people, all lower caste people need not be poor people. That's why we have reserved even 10% of reservation for general category. We justify it that way. This is apart from 27% of reservation under OBC, on the Mandal Commission recommendation we are talking about. This is apart from SC/ST reservation. And recently, Supreme Court came with a judgment, that all, that the physically, that special people, differently able people should be, that dealt on par with, SC/ST reservation. Are you aware? It is that way we are talking about. So this is equality to equity. That's John Baudelaire Roberts. In the world of ethics, we move from equality to equity. We understand unique problems on the part of vulnerable sections, whether they are Dalits, whether they are minorities, whether they are women, whether they are children, whether they are, transgender, whether they are, the migrant laborers, whether they are, small and marginal farmers. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way we are talking about. That not only that, we also took you, that the basic difference between Indian ethics and Western ethics. Indian ethics, Indian philosophy is completely centered around spiritualism. The whole way of life is devised in such way. The rituals and ceremonies, even why, during Margari month, of course, that now next month in Tamil, that now it is Thai. January coincides with Thai Madam. That in the previous month was called, that Margari month. The early morning, all our women, they get up, the early morning, they go to the entrance of the, home. Ultimately, they make, rangoli design in the early morning, 4 o'clock and all. Sometimes they make in the late evenings too. But that they use rice powder to make rangoli designs. So the belief, rituals and ceremony says in such a way, if you do that, you will be blessed by Almighty God. Of course, the Mahalakshmi enters your home. That's fantastic. But what is the indirect message, So in the name of using that rice powder, you also feed the small creatures, termites, ants. If you are asked, get up in the early morning, feed, that ant and termites, will you do? All rituals and ceremonies are created with a purpose. The point is, that in the name of ritual and ceremony, you are asked to feed small creatures. Your obligation towards other species. Stewardship, this is otherwise called stewardship on the part of, environmental ethics. Yeah, we are talking about that way, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the way, Indian ethics, that spiritualism, the whole way of life, the culture is devised in such a way in terms of rituals and ceremonies. You are part of the greater entity. You came for a particular purpose, you join back. Jivatma joins with Paramatma by attaining moksha, Atma Gyan. Maybe in some other religions, enlightenment, Kaivalya, Nirvana. Yes. So, the Indian ethics, centered around spiritualism. Of course, there itself you've got, the division, orthodox, heterodox schools before going there. But whereas Western ethics centered around intellectualism. You would have watched a movie called Lucy, the very Lucy, that of course somewhat that the chemical, the mixing with that, the girl, inner part of the body, ultimately, that enlightening her, ultimately 20%, 30%, 40%. By the time it reaches 100%, she's not there. There'll be full of light. In everybody's mobile, there will be message. I'm everywhere. Omnipresent, omnipotent, enlightenment. What do you call God? They say knowledge. It is that way. So intellectualism, that's a core principle of the Western ethics. But whereas Indian ethics, Indian philosophy is centered around spiritualism, where we speak about orthodox school, heterodox school. Orthodox school, recognizing astika, there is, there exists. You accept the presence of the God. Ultimately, you respect the validity of Vedas. That's orthodox school. But whereas heterodox school, just opposite. What is that? Nastika. They don't accept the presence of the God. They don't, that give validity. They disapprove the Veda system or associated caste system. So when come back to the orthodoxy school, we spoke about that that MSV New Year. I gave you the code also. What is that? Mimamsa, Samkhya, Vaisheshika, Vedanta, Nyaya, Yoga. We spoke. But whereas in the heterodox schools, you are talking about Ajivika, Ajnanas. Unfortunately, the both schools, that could not survive the religious competition happened between 800 to 200 BC. We are keep on emphasizing. And also the Charvakas, you are talking about at the end of 18th century or beginning of 19th century, the greatest social thinker, of course, Karl Marx. Even all communists feel proud, alternative theory. The establishment of classless communist society, the political goal of the Marxism, what do you call? For that, you got prelude already in India. That too during Mahajanapada's period. It's in the name of Charvakas. That you don't know, we don't know, that we come to know through one Washington State University, the professor, Bishop Donald. And the same way, even Mauryan administration, the political treatise, Ardhashastra, written by Chanakya, Kautilya, Vishnugupta, you are talking, that we come to know only in the beginning of 20th century. Are you aware? That one Pandit, that located in the library of Mysore. Though it was written those days, 3rd century BC, Maurya administration we are talking about. That way, the Charvakas, that prelude to the Marxism, that you see the materialism, empiricism, atheism, hedonism, either one way or other way, we are all Charvakas. You just, because the very Karl Marx spoke in terms of, the ownership over economic resources and exploitation, associated struggle, then struggle leading to revolution. Revolution results in the establishment of classless communist society. It is in the class context. But whereas Charvakas, they spoke the same in India in caste context. Because both Karl Marx, as both the Marxists as well as the Charvakas share similar opinion. According to them, religion is the opiate of masses. Religion is a drug. Madamennu madam, intoxicating. But whereas Karl Marx spoke in class context, Charvaka spoke in the caste context. The Indian caste system, the Brahmins, they wanted to enjoy the supremacy in the Indian scenario. That's why they use religion. The Hinduism, the Brahminical supremacy, all those steps. That's why several social movements happen in India, that took stand, anti-Brahminical stand, all those steps. Whether it is Dravidar Kazhagam in the south, the self-respect movement, by E.V. Ramasamy Naikar, or Sree Narayana Dharma Paripalana movement, Idava movement, otherwise called in the Kerala. Satyasodak Samaj in the Western India, of course. Jyotiba Phule, we are talking about. Several things. But whereas in the North India, they took, Sanskritization aspect, that they reconciled with, that upper caste Brahmins. But in the South, it never happened. Even today, you see the continuity, Aryan, Dravidian. Of course, that Dr. Subramaniam Swami says, it's a bogus. But the electoral politics, even today, it is influenced by that particular theory. The Aryans versus Dravidians. You might be aware we are talking about. Come back. So, the Ajivikas, Ajnanas, Charvakas, even Buddhism and Jainism. It's, that what we spoke, same thing, that the difference of opinion between Mahatma Gandhiji and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Gandhiji said, that the very untouchability is a shame on Hinduism, the caste system. But people should become conscious to do away with that, menace, the malaise. That's what Gandhiji said. He was in favor of reformist approach, but whereas Dr. B.R. Ambedkar took revolutionary approach within this caste system, within this Hinduism, you can never get justice. Even the annihilation of caste. The very book you would have read, the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar says, that he ultimately what happened? He spoke on behalf of depressed classes, ultimately embraced Mahar movement. According to him, Buddhism is egalitarian in character. A revolutionary path, the similar way. So we are talking about, the Buddhism, Jainism, they're called, very humanistic, they preach compassion. Of course, Buddhism, talking about, that the very moderate path, middle path, which can be equated with Aristotelian golden mean. Don't touch extreme. Be moderate. Choose middle path. Maybe eightfold paths we are talking about. Four noble truths, in Buddhism. Of course, when we talk about, the Jainism, of course, I gave you the code ABS. Ahimsa, aparigraha, asteya. You're talking about. And also, that the brahmacharya, satya. So heterodox religions, they came out of Hinduism. Why? Because of the supremacy. The Brahmins are orthodoxy. Otherwise, the language used by Hinduism, Sanskrit, ultimately the Buddhism and Jainism used, Pali and Prakrit, the local lingua franca. The Hinduism was imposing several restrictions on mercantile community. That's why the very, that Buddhism and Jainism, but in legal angle, we treat, Buddhism and Jainism as part and parcel of Hinduism. You don't have separate legal mechanisms as per Indian constitution. You might be aware. We are talking everything. So we spoke at length. Not only that, ladies and gentlemen, we discussed Swami Vivekananda also, who spoke, that Hinduism, the very Hinduism, of course, that where he says universal brotherhood, the tolerance, the unity in diversity, and through his, the Vedanta and yoga, how he, that preached those, values meant for Hinduism, of course. And the Swami Vivekananda, of course, that the World Parliament of Religions, the Chicago address, we spoke. Sisters and brothers, the mesmerizing voice. Not only that, the very spirit. All religions are true. They are different paths to the same destination. Almost like, all rivers coming from the mountains and reaching, the water body, sea or ocean. Different paths with the same destination. So that's unity in diversity. The very, that not only that, it's not preaching. He that the purity, passions, and perseverance. And beyond that, love. So for Swami Vivekananda, love is God. And he ultimately, that God, of course, highlighted the plight of downtrodden people, the downfall of India because of the plight of downtrodden people. So he appealed, that not only the establishment of Ramakrishna Math in service of the humanity, you might be aware. We spoke. And also, that then Chanakya Niti, Sam, Ved, Dan, Dand, the political treatise of Mauryan administration. And that spoke about, 40 types of corruption. Corruption is not modern phenomenon. It's time immemorial, you come to know. The embezzlement. So the foresightedness with which, the envisagement with which, the very Chanakya wrote, that the kingmaker of, Mauryan administration, such a way, that we discussed that also, the Chanakya Niti, we spoke. And beyond that, of course, that I took you, that to, that the colossus of Tamil literature, of course, Tirukkural written by Thiruvalluvar, the 1330 couplets or kurals, that spread over, of course, the 133 chapters we spoke. Per chapter, 10 kurals or couplets, that cutting across, aram, porul, inbam, aram, ethics, virtue, porul, wealth, material, the worldliness, material, inbam, pleasure. It's almost equivalent to dharma, artha, kama, not moksha. And cutting across variety of segments of life, his contribution, several questions came. Even Niti Ayog document utilizing the Thiruvalluvar's quote, the central government, especially Prime Minister Modi ji, taking variety of steps, to spread this, the timeless treasure to the global community. You might be aware. We discussed. Previous year question also came. It is that way. And not only that, Sree Aurobindo, how, that a patriot became, a spiritual person. That is judgment. And then ultimately we took you, that not only Sree Aurobindo, Sir Rabindranath Tagore, how, that a literary, multifaceted personality. The first Asian, to accept, that the Gitanjali, that the Nobel Prize for Literature, you might be aware. and establishment of Shantiniketan and Vishwabharati University. How? And he had difference of opinion with Mahatma Gandhi. Why? The value system Sir Rabindranath Tagore believed in: rationalization, scientific temperament, human freedom, the liberalism. And he spoke for communal harmony. We discuss at length, so all of contributions from different thinkers, philosophers, different religions, in what way enriched the very subject matter of ethics and integrity. We spoke at length. You please watch them, in detail, that you get more ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, in continuation of that, today we are going to discuss Sree Narayana Guru. And it is he who founded, Sree Narayana Dharma Paripalana movement, maybe part of the backward class movements we are talking about, and took, anti-Brahmanical stand. You might be aware how the Irava, the toddy tapper community in that, the very Kerala, how they suffered, that severe discrimination, that they were treated as untouchables. You might be aware. So he fought for the cause of, that those people ultimately established and became part of the solution. And Sree Narayana Guru also, you are talking about, that the very, that enigmatic, of course, that spiritual guru. He guided the people. The SNDP Yogam otherwise. One caste, one religion, that he spoke that way. One God, you might be aware. The very famous slogan we are talking about. So the one caste is humanism. He spoke the 10 commandments, that he has given. So, you be part of the solution. That's what optimism. Of course, the challenges we meet in our life, that should not stop us. Even Dr. Kalam speaks that way. The problems should not dominate us. We should dominate the problem. Be like an eagle. During, that rainy season, that all birds will be taking shelter, but eagle flies above the cloud. Try to be above your problems. That's what Dr. Kalam says. An optimist will see solution in every problem. A pessimist will see problem in every solution. See, I see, that optimism on the part of Sree Narayana Guru. Though he came from, that, of course, the Irava community, he fought for ultimately, of course, that. So, he born to, that one particular, that Sanskrit teacher, and also physician, the very brought up, that. So he also learned Tamil, and his, the exposure to the traditional subjects. And what happened, right, that, of course, in his absence, the marriage was solemnized. Those days, there was a practice, of course, that if bridegroom's, sister gives Mangala Shutra Tali, that will be accepted as a marriage. But he never gone to home, native place after that. He was roaming, a wanderer in pursuit of truth. Of course, you say Brahmacharin, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasin. The Vanaprastha, in pursuit of truth. He was in search of truth. He was wandering from place to place. He went inside the forest, that on seashores, used to sit on meditation. And also, that had company of, that spiritual people. Ultimately, he said, that he went inside the water. Ultimately, he took, one Shiva lingam. Ultimately, he said, that ultimately, he established one Shiva temple also. And that came, criticism by, the Brahmin community. How come, as a non-Brahmin, you can, establish, that consecrate, the very statue. Ultimately, he said, it's not, the Brahmin Shiva, it's my Shiva. He spoke that way. And I know that the very facility, that established variety of, that social service activities, that could benefit the Irava community. All those stuff. He became part of the solution we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So very humanism, the compassion, the humanism, the spirit, the value. Because why? He got affected by the caste discrimination of those days. He went against all those old dogmas, tradition that never gave equal space to the fellow human beings. So this, once again, the humanism, be compassionate. And also, that he is not in favor of one particular religion. The same way what Swami Vivekananda said, that, you take love from, the Jesus, the fraternity from, the very Muhammad Nabi. You take, the good things from all religions. So, that don't get, that polarized. That's the message we are talking about. So one cause, one, that religion, one God. That's, that Sree Narayana Guru, Sree Narayana Dharma Paripalana movement, or SNDP Yogam, you might be aware. Of course, he became part of the solution. The very value system is highly relevant for your ethics and integrity. That's what, we are connecting, ladies and gentlemen. So this is what our center of, that the bone of contention, the content of today's interaction. This is in continuation. Of course, his exposure, education, spiritual wandering, the religious mission, he took up, and his opposition to the old customs. the discriminatory practices. Otherwise, the very movement, Sri Narayana Dharma Paripalana movement in 1903 in Kerala. Of course, the 10 commandments he has given. It's, instead of, the giving quotes, normally I used to give quotes, that today we are going to share the very prescriptions of Sri Narayana Guru, preachings, the teachings of Narayana Guru, which is humanistic, the 10 commandments, and also that how you have to practice the religious tolerance. You have to be in harmony with other religious, the people of other faiths also. It's talking about, it's not taking supremacy, it's not fighting for your own religion. So the very spiritual path, of course, you go beyond religion in connecting everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, I think, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. Of course, the very resources, finally, to be, that consulted for whole ethics and integrity subject matter we are talking about. This is right time. Let me take you in. I think, this is, that this introduction is sufficient. Let me go in. When I said, that ethics guiding you, whenever you are confused, perplexed, whenever you witness ethical dilemma, situational constraints, conflict of interest, part of, that as a public servant, that part of public governance, where you are guided. That ethical dilemma could be in terms of this. Maybe between economic development versus environmental sustainability. Maybe between economic development or, that maintenance of social order. It should not be at the cost of section of population. Maybe between, to speak in favor of the justice, fairness. You might be aware, Martin Luther King, when there is injustice in the relationship will not be long lasting. That is what we are talking about. So either to take asylum in the world of law, or to speak, that fairness on the part of, that the society. We are talking about whether to speak in favor of, the trying to enforce your fundamental rights, part of Indian Constitution, Article 12 to 35, or to speak about fundamental duties, where you got responsibility. Don't ask what the nation has done to you. Please ask yourself what you have done to the nation. John F. Kennedy. Be part of giving, part of contribution. So what's your obligation? What's your responsibility? 1 second, please. Ladies and gentlemen. It is not entering into simply the competition. You have to understand, is it level playing field? When it comes to, the global climatic change or global warming we are talking about, so all nations, we have to come together in mitigating or reduction of the greenhouse gases to the pre-1990 level. Of course, Kyoto Protocol, part of United Nations Framework Convention on Climatic Change, the Conference of Party meetings, part of United Nations Environment Program. We spoke the collective but differentiated responsibility. Why? Collective, we all have our own purpose, but with a different mandate. Why? The developed countries, that they benefited more by exploiting the resources. The polluter must pay. You developed countries, you have reached this level, you have to share the technology as well as some funding to developing an underdeveloped world, because it's not level playing field. Not level playing field. We are talking about that way. So you see the double standard at the international arena, whether it is energy, whether it is trade, whether it is, the climatic conference, everywhere. The climatic change associated, the conferences, everywhere we are talking about. So compatibility, it's not competition, compatibility. It's not all we nations, we have to compete each other to be part of the solution. But of course, hello, you did something. You got different mandate, I've got different mandate. We are talking that way. Forget about that. Within the nation, at the domestic level, so that economic development, it's not the growth of few corporates or few affluent communities. The growth should percolate down to the masses. All Keynesian economics or trickle down theory should work in favor of the people. It should be well balanced. Growth that should benefit everyone, all citizens. We are talking about. So in that sense, that of course, level playing field, there you justify the principle of equity once again. Protective discrimination, positive discrimination, the vulnerable sections, how they are taken care of. It is that way. Otherwise, that leads to widening inequality. The gap between rich and poor gets widened. Rich gets richer, poor gets poorer. That's a problem then. Then it's a challenge to the the internal security, national integration we are talking about. So there comes the role of government to arrest this widening gap and to work in favor of welfare nation notion, part of direct principles of state policy we are talking. And otherwise, modern day world, we are talking about, the paternalistic nation, as the very Ashoka said once. Dhamma policy, Devanam Priya Piyadasi. I personally visited Dhaulagiri in Odisha, where Kalinga war said to be fought, the next to that Dahi river, full of blood, dead bodies. Having seen that the very place, the Prakrit inscriptions I could witness. The rock was, that sculpted like, the very elephant. It's a symbol of Buddhism. So where, Ashoka says, that they are not my citizens, they are my sons and daughters. He embraced Buddhism. Dhamma policy. From Chanda Ashoka to Dhamma Ashoka. Chanda. You're talking, that Dhamma Ashoka, Dhamma policy. So it is that way we are talking, the paternalistic notion. That this is what, I expect, Prime Minister Modi ji, or maybe even our grandpa, the President of India, younger grandpa, Vice President of India, you have to take all citizens as your sons and daughters that way. You get, extra, that Modi ji, you got the whole family, whole India as your family. Of course, there are some detractors, critics, you don't worry about them. In every family, you got, critics. So that should be the way the people should be treated. Cosmopolitan behavior. That can be done. Of course, I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So, that the equity, the compatibility, the level playing field, you have to ensure. And one of the 7 sins, according to Mahatma Gandhi, the politics without principles. That's what we witnessed today. That too, Tamil Nadu politics, that, oh my God. So 43% commission, and you see what's happening, you might be aware. Every week, the change of scenario. Now they are waiting for Sasikala. They were waiting for Rajinikanth. Now Sasikala, backboneless people. I'm talking about, that don't you have leadership quality? I'm asking. Oh my God, that somewhere, that you want to, the Kudara Yarno, you have to reach the power. You get reduced to tumbler of ash or 6 feet distance. I'm talking about unethicality to the core. Criminalization of politics, corrupt corruption in kind also we are talking about it. That way you might be aware. So the politics, the politics per se noble profession, because the very politics, they're honored by people like Mahatma Gandhi. Even Mahatma Gandhi himself is not free from criticism. He had, his own difference of opinion with Netaji, with, the Tagore, Sir Rabindranath Tagore, you might be aware. Pandit Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. But very politics, what we are witnessing today, oh my God, full of scams. Spectrum, that scam, and Colgate scam we are talking about, Sahara scam, and also, the people like, Vijay Mallya, Nero Modi. I'm talking about, that who is responsible? All these things we are talking about, but the burden is on Aam Aadmi, burden is on people. All stashed away money, it is that way we are talking about. Of course, the very politics, the deterioration of standards we are talking about, the compromising of the principles we are talking about. So whether to have, principled politics or mere, the capture of power. So ethical dilemma we are talking about. So whether to speak in favor of the progress or to speak in favor of the purpose and direction. It's not mere economic progress. It's not a quantity. What about quality? You got choices, the ethical dilemma. And it's not talking about mere good governance, transparency, responsibility, accountability. What about ethical governance, where you talk about the role of corporate social responsibility, the scientific social responsibility, mere economic diplomacy to ethical diplomacy, from equality to equity. And the corporate social responsibility, I keep on emphasizing why all corporates should not be persuaded or make it mandatory that, they should build one storage facilities, that within, food corporation godowns, so that all our, that the food grains getting wasted, will be protected, preserved. On the one side, people are starving. Other side, food grains are getting wasted under Food Corporation of India godowns. Why all corporate people should not be, the persuaded, emphasize, make it, mandatory. Come on, under CSR, it can be done. I'm talking about the 2% of translation can be, done in such a way. So because I said already, that so that only 40 million ton capacity with our Food Corporation of India go downs, that. But what happened? We have got more than 100 million ton. Naturally, they are getting exposed to that hot sun and continuous rain. We are talking about flood. It's getting wasted. On the other side, you talk about global hunger index putting India below Bangladesh. What is this? Why can't we? That let's be part of the solution. It should be made. Come on, make. So I see the benevolent dictatorship can be practiced here. I'm saying definitely it can be practiced. I'm talking about. So and one particular thing that you have to enjoy now, the scientific social responsibility. Of course, all of our scientists became part of the solution. The very coaxin, the Covishield, what we are talking about, the Pune Serum Institute, and the biotech Hyderabad we are talking about. We became part of the solution. We joined the world, especially the select few nations. The AstraZeneca, Moderna, Pfizer. Now we are talking about. That's fantastic, right? So let's appreciate. It's not mere invention and discoveries. What we are talking about, that should benefit the humanity. That is what the purpose of science. What is the use of having weapons of mass destruction, chemical, biological weapons? Ultimately, that goes against the very spirit of living. That we say ill effects of science and technology. Science without humanity. But of course, this is science with humanity. So scientific, social, this is ethical governance. The Prime Minister Modi ji should be appreciated, especially because he personally visited those that research centers, encouraging the scientists. Of course, today we are talking about, and given COVID crisis, of course, ethical diplomacy we are talking about. Not only me attitude. We spoke already. So the practice of it's not a realistic politics. It's not that idealistic politics also may not be possible. Of course, ethics is all about idealistic. Of course, constructivism, cosmopolitanism, and equality of life. So all these principles, ethics in international relations, we are talking about. It's not talking about equality, equity. That you witness all these ethical dilemmas, you have to choose between. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, that, ladies and gentlemen, this is what the syllabus prescription when it comes to ethics and integrity, the subject matter, ladies and gentlemen, that expects you to have, a particular attitude, a character, and also approach to the issues relating to integrity, probity in public life. Integrity, what is that? The truth in the long run, honesty. When you strictly adhere to truth in the long run, you are man of honesty, woman of honesty. In the long run, you are man of integrity, woman of integrity. What is integrity? Even if nobody is seeing you, even if nobody is watching you, you never compromise, from the standards, from the value system. That unwavering commitment towards the value system or principles you are talking about. Of course, you deviate, you come back. That's integrity. Then people start developing, trust in you, confidence in you. You become leader. You become source of inspiration. It is not by advertising. I'm. Oh my God. You see, practically in practice, it is garbage. What do you see? Of course. Oh my God. Oh, great. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So integrity, probity in public life, and problem-solving approach. You are supposed to be part of solution. So how, when you encounter, the conflicts or situational constraints, ethical dilemmas, as we discussed now, and that ultimately while dealing with society, that's what this particular part, the case study plus theories and concepts I'm talking about. Put together 250 marks. I think this is what syllabus prescription. Of course, syllabus, the title, ethics and human interface, attitude, aptitude, emotional intelligence, contribution of moral thinkers. This is what now we are discussing. Having discussed several the contributions from several thinkers, social scientists, philosophers. Now today we are discussing Sree Narayana Guru. Of course, that, and also that ethics in public administration we are talking about. Then applying all this. This is what case study. So this is 130 marks. This is 120 marks. For elaborated syllabus, you please download from upsc.gov.in. Otherwise, from Unacademy platform also you can download. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you to the next level. Yes, Sree Narayana Guru from Kerala. Of course, that. So the spirit already. My responsibility is to share with you the details so that stays with you. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, born in 1856. Of course, we are talking about near Trivandrum. Of course, Kerala. Did education in the old Gurukula model. You just that the past haunting Ultimately, what happened, right? The discrimination he witnessed, that's what. His family enjoyed social respectability and economic status because, his dad was a teacher, Sanskrit teacher, and also a physician, Ayurveda, his uncle also. Some Azan, of course, Madan Azan, we are talking about. So, society, even Azan means teacher, even you call the common name. So, even in Tamil, it's called Azan, Asiriyar, Azan, maybe Ubatyaye, Batyaye, Vatyaye, Vatyar, Vati coming. Vati coming, that has got reduced to that level. The respect gone. Oh my God. Come back. So society was in the grip of, that rigid caste system. So untouchability was common. We are talking about untouchability was common. See, such a rigid system, caste system, definitely hierarchy. The social distance. Not talking about COVID distance, social distance, physical distance due to social reason. Why the rigid caste system, the social systems I'm talking about, the Pulayan caste, they have to maintain minimum 18 feet distance with upper caste Nambudiri in Kerala. Even a shadow of Nambudiri falling, even shadow of, the Pulayan falling on Nambudiri is said to be polluting. That's why distance. And, in Tanjore case study, that Andre Betel case study, there is a caste called unseeable, Pradavanan, Dobi community, washerman community. You know about it. Unseeable. They should not come in the roadside when upper caste people are walking. Even the very Irava, that the community, the toddy topper community, for them, that the very Sree Narayana Guru fought for them. They were discriminated. They were treated as untouchable. They weren't allowed to, that use public spaces. Allowed to, they weren't allowed to use, the weird chapel and all those things. Proper dress, you might be aware. So discrimination. That's why, that he witnessed all those. Society was in the grip of rigid caste system and associated taboos, the hierarchy. If you are very fortunate if you're born in upper caste. If you're born in lower caste, of course, oppression, suppression, exploitation, all-round violation of the human rights. But the beginning of the caste system, it was based on strict division of labor. Even judgment system, the remnant of that, even today in some rural areas you witness. It was working very well those days. But over the days, what happened? The rigidity it acquired. Maybe the Brahmanical domination. In all category, upper caste people started exploiting the lower caste people. That resulted. Of course, we did correction through constitution. Of course, Dr. Ambedkar, that very conscious about it. Of course, we are talking about that's why reservation is getting justified. You might be aware. So the rigidity of the social backwardness and economic backwardness, educational backwardness, you take into account everything. And beyond that, the menace, that they are not given, the human treatment, untouchable. That's why Article 17, that's a sin. We're talking about part of the constitution Mahatma Gandhi fought for, but he had reformist approach, whereas Ambedkar had, the revolutionary approach. We spoke at length. So it's a menace. It's a shame on, that India, the very practice, the past, of course, we did constitutional corrections, you might be aware. Even the prohibition of discrimination, the SC/ST Act, we are talking about. That's why then and there we amend, you might be aware. And, one case, that these people, that of course, scheduled caste people also started threatening upper caste people using that, Protection of Civil Rights Act, those things. But now some stringent provisions made, that nothing less than SP, that the FIR can be registered. All those things happen. You might be aware. What may be, come back. Sree Narayana Guru, his father Madan Asan was a teacher, son of a teacher, learned in, that a Sanskrit and proficient in astrology and Ayurveda. His dad, see, born in social respectability and economic state. So, the Gurukula education, in spite of that, of course, we are talking about, so possess prodigious, very skillful memory, child prodigious memory and quick learner, that so you may be slow learner, but stays with you. But there are guys, Karpuram Vazhamatta. There is a classification in Tamil. Camphor, it catches fire immediately. Vazhamatta, of course, that, the barks of the banana tree. There are people like that. Of course, that he is camphor. We are talking about quick learner. Heard with keen interest the stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata. So he has shown keen interest, because they preach ultimately moral values, you might be aware. Through those stories, epics, you come to know. So even Mahabharata, how, the dharma versus adharma, all those stuff. That the Bhagavad Gita, everything you are talking about. So education, even, that how, even Ramayana, that the good versus bad. Rama versus, that Ravana we are talking about. There also, how, the Sita, that as a symbol of, the virginity or chastity we are talking about. But modern day world, you have to understand virginity or chastity is not only the exclusive domain of women, even for men. It's not by physical you become, that you lose your chastity, even by mental. மனதளவுல ஸ்வரம் போனாலும் தப்புதான். It is that way, but that's different we are talking about. Of course, education at home was under the supervision of his father and uncle. It is that way, that he had good education, of course, learned the basics of Tamil as well as Sanskrit. You have to understand the context, historical context. Then only you can appreciate ideas. Why he established Sri Narayana Dharma Paripalana movement, fought for the cause of Iravas, why he spread, that humanism values. To understand that, excuse me. So, that learned the basics of Tamil and Sanskrit we are talking about, of course, come back. He went through traditional subjects like, that you talk about Siddha Rupam and Bala Prabodhanam and Amara Kosam. These are all the traditional subjects, he got exposed. We are talking about, of course. Yes, it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. Let me take you next level. He learned poetry, drama, logic, poetic and grammar. Everything, that you understand. Only when you understand the root, you can appreciate the fruit. Let me take you to the context so that you appreciate the ideas. That's what the very purpose. But he loved solitude. Solitude, that solitude, the solitary character we are talking about, and contemplation, the thinker, of course. He composed, the hymns and, devotional songs, that, and also all those things we are talking about, how his background was, of course, that in, brahmacharan, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyasin. The vanaprastha, in pursuit of truth. Of course, people say he got married. How his marriage happened, I told you already. His own sister, on behalf of bridegroom, gave Mangala Sutra to the girl. That way, a marriage was solemnized. He never lived. He never went to, that native place after that also, all those things. So married in 1882 that way, and stopped going home and left native village forever. Huh? So, that what happened ultimately, the spiritual wandering in pursuit of truth, vanaprastha, equivalent to vanaprastha. So, became, that parivrajaka, we are talking about parivrajaka in search of truth. We are talking about spent days in forests, caves, seashores, in temples, of course, that in pursuit of all, the saints, that they share this common history, and they'll get that self experience. It is that way you get in everybody's, that even Sir Aurobindo, that Sree Aurobindo, he got that spiritual awakening when he was in jail. And to escape the arrest of, the Britishers, he came and settled in Pondicherry, and the spiritual collaboration. I'm talking about Aurobindo Ghosh, and with mother, ultimately, that all those stuffs, the same way. So, that, so the very, that Sri Narayana Guru met, that Chattampi Swami, and became, close friends. His association with other spiritual people, and met, that Thaikattu Ayyavu. We are talking about Thaikattu. I don't know what's the pronunciation. Thaikattu Ayyavu or Thaikattu Ayyavu. A distinguished, that yoga guru. That he learned yoga also. He used to do meditation. Even when he was, that entering into water body and took away some linga, before consecration of that linga, he was keeping on his hand for continuously 3 hours, doing meditation, all, that, so the water came out of, the continuously oozing out of his, that eyes ultimately. So the spiritual experience. So the people narrate that way. Of course, it is that way. And, whatever maybe he gone to that spiritual experience, but, he spoke for humanity, welfare of the humanity. Spread human values. That's important. We are talking about relevant to our ethics. We are talking about that's important. That Thaikattu Ayyavu. That will be appropriate, I believe. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, let me take you to the next level. He observed tapas. Davam, you say na, davam, tapas. Davam pannunga, meditation, and meditation, that in Pillatadam cave, that in a particular cave called Pillatadam cave, and very close to Kanyakumari, that where he attained enlightenment, found enlightenment, that's some experience, spiritual experience we are talking, that like other spiritual leaders, of course, that you have to understand the spiritual wanderings, what happened, where it, that reached, we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So he prayed to God, conceiving him in the form of Shiva. We're talking about, in the form of Shiva, intimate communion with nature and animals. All those, that some, that the miracle, mystic things, that we also hear of, that that his devotees, talking. Even I visited some colleges belonging to that particular trust, that the devotees of Sri Narayana Guru, and they've got strong faith towards him, that they speak about miracles. So pray to God, convincing him as in the, in the form of, it's not, the conceiving him. He considered himself as, the form of Shiva. Hmm? So, that is what spiritualism, there is God in you. You're, the boson particle in you. Of course, you're part of the God. Of course, so many things you did in your life, you don't realize that. The day you realize, you understand the purpose, why you came, then you join back. It is having accomplished that. But that way, ladies and gentlemen, so people began flocking to see him. Ultimately, people started pouring in, that the moment they understand, that the India, the spiritual land, you might be aware, that you hear a lot of, that the stories like that. Of course, this spiritual person, how he spread human values, that way he's relevant for our ethics and integrity we are talking about. And he became part of solution. So his mission was focused on promoting spiritual values. It's more than religion. Spiritual values more than religion. Religion, you enter into religious competition. My religion is best. Your religion is best. Fight comes. But whereas in the world of spiritualism, all you accept all religions as if true. Different paths to the same destination. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen, because the mission was focused on promoting spiritual values, character ethics. You understand now, the character ethics, attitude. When character goes, everything goes. We spoke already. And social issues, it is that way. So his outreach, that's why he became relevant to our subject matter. So try to redress the bad social customs, the discrimination, and remove caste discrimination. That he was very much worried about it, started redressing, that was corroding the Indian society of the past, the traditional Indian society. You might be aware, in several occasions, you speak about ill effects of caste system, you might be aware. So concentrated on ameliorating, that improving the conditions of the caste at the bottom of the system, the Aam Aadmi, downtrodden people. He fought for the plight of, those downtrodden, as that's what Sri Narayana Dharma Paripalana movement, SNDP Yogam, the toddy tappers, the Erova community. We spoke it is that way. It is judgment. Yes. So he lived among lower social groups and spreading his life's mission. So it is that way. At night, he would sit on the seashore in deep meditation. The great yogi with miraculous powers. That's what, the mysticism, the spiritual people, all spiritual people are identified with that, of course. So during this time, he saw inequalities, of course, the injustices and evil customs in the society. Of course, caste discrimination, how people were suppressed because of that caste system. So that influenced to the core of all of his, that later activities. That's what we are talking about. Culmination of the SNTP. Talk about, hope your, the net is very clear, I believe. Ladies and gentlemen. I see the lack of clarity. I don't know. Please, check with yours. No problem. Yes. And not only that, that his opposition to the old customs, பழையன கழிதலும் புதியன புகுதலும் வழுவல கால வகையிலானே. That when you enter into 21st century, how come you can live with, that 18th century mentality, that so they become irrelevant, they become obsolete. So you have to understand that, that so change is permanent. மாறாதது மாற்றம் ஒன்றுதான். If you are not ready to update yourself, you will be thrown out. You become irrelevant. So he started opposing those old customs, haunting, the discriminating now, that's acting as an obstacle, not recognizing inherent human potential on the part of, that every human beings. He realized that. So in 1888, of course, that he built Shiva temple in Arivipuram. Neyyatinakara, Arivipuram, we are talking about. He descended into the river and re-emerged holding an idol of Shiva. So these are all the miracle things or mystic elements associated with, the tales of associated with Sri Narayana, devotees, that 100% say, of course, that. So we take it into account. Of course, after deep meditation, he installed that idol on the pedestal. Of course, that when priests of that particular locality challenged his right to consecrate, you are not given this, that you are not mandated for this ultimately. Of course, maybe the caste system, that he replied, I installed my Shiva, not Brahmin Shiva. That's what he's replied. So see, the very Even, the Archakas issues, that the Chidambaram Archakas, you might be aware. The Dikshitas, the Supreme Court judgment, you might be aware. So, that the very caste system, Archakas, that should be only from Brahmin community, the Tamil Nadu government, to Hindu religious endowment, that the GO came, even non-Brahmins can become Archakas, all those associated, the legal tangles, you might be aware. It is that way. So, even today you speak about this and this is, you just think about those days, how it would have been, how the people, that came in the lower rank would have fought against that, the status quo ante we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So, following motto, that's what the motto was placed on the temple wall. What is that? Divide of dividing walls of caste. How, that the world should be dividing, the divide, the divide, a lack, that absence, dividing, the divide of dividing walls, the polarizing walls or dividing walls, that or hatred of rival faith, that so that one opposing another. Even you talk about class of civilization in the modern world. So that our hatred of rival faith, we all live here, brotherhood. Such, that know this place to be. This is model foundation. That he expected that the foundation with this particular spirit, which is free from our absence of, the polarization through caste or division by caste, or the hatred. That it's not. You should love everybody. That's what the point. The human values. That of course we are talking about. But that absence of the hatred of rival faith. That why it is that way. So we all live here in a brotherhood. Of course, that so such know this, that of course it's a translation, that the place to be this model foundation, see, you understand his true spirit, that if he wanted, that the world is one family, that's what, that one caste, one religion, one God, his famous quote that we are going to witness. Of course, you see with his own, the devotees, the followers, we're talking about Sree Narayana, original photo we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Right. So in 1904, that he got settled in Sivagiri to continue, that his sadhana, spiritual sadhana, the practices, and that the goddess Amba, became his deity of worship. That this and all, that see from ethics and integrity point of view, that the value system, that the principle standards, that you learn out of Sri Narayana Guru. That is very important. Of course, to understand that, you should understand the context. That's the purpose. It's not by hearting all, and you're not going to write anything in the examination. Even in the, the general studies, social movements, of course, the center, it's focused on Sri Narayana Dharma Paripalana movement, part of, backward class movements. How it was, he took the stand anti-Brahmanical with other, that backward class movements. That's a focus. But you have to understand the history, the context, so that the ideas will be appreciated. Ideas, that stays rooted in you. That's the very purpose, ladies and gentlemen. So Sri Narayana Guru started many schools and built many temples. Of course, even in Coimbatore, of course, that I witnessed the lot of colleges, the education institutions run by his own devotees, of course, that very dedicated people. So what are the started Sanskrit school in Varkala and given education, that regardless of the caste, see, he got affected by that discrimination. So ultimately, see, that's what the path. He became part of the solution. In 1913, he founded Advaita Ashramam at Aluva, especially dedicated to the great principle. What is that principle? Om, that Sahodaryam Sarvatra. Sahodaryam, that Sahodara, Kabalai Pada De Sahodara. That song you hear, that should come to your mind. Om Sahodaryam Sarvatra, the Sahodaryam Sarvatra. All men are equal in the eyes of God. It's this, even nobody is less. That's what we are talking about. Nobody is less. The very wisdom which created me, the same wisdom created you. Even that Mahatria used to mention this many times. That's what the truth is same, but in different manifestation. Different, thinkers, philosophers speaking the same truth, same principle, same standard, same value system of the society, part of the culture of the society that guides you. That's the blueprint of the society. So, that Sahodaryam Sarvatra, we are talking about all men are equal in the eyes of the God. Even the Constitution, we talk about, that right to equality, Article 14, 15, but in spite of that, we go for equity. Ethics is all about moving from equality to equity. You also take care of the vulnerable section. That's what ethics we're talking about. So, all men are equal in the eyes of God. We are all children of God. Of course, you have to understand. Even Mahatma Gandhi ji said, Dalit people are children of God. Harijan, Girijan, Harijan, he said, that Girijana, all those. So, that maybe, that he was trying in his lifetime, trying to eradicate that untouchability. You might be aware. We are talking about, so SNDP movement, Sree Narayana Dharma Paripalana movement, of course, what is the meaning? Society for the propagation of moral teaching. Dharma Paripalanam. Dharma Paripalanam. We are talking about moral teaching. Of course, he fought for the cause of, the toddy tapas, of course, of Iravas called, the Kerala. It's otherwise called SNDP Yogam, that he empathized with those people, that sympathize, fought for the cause of those people, that the service, that for liberal, especially the humanism, the spirit. That's what we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, that here in Sree Narayana, that Guru, I'm not going to give you quotes because otherwise, that we have got, 10 commandments, the principles, and also, that his preachings we are talking about. The very famous quote, maybe, that you can say, that one caste, one God, the one religion, one God, of course. And before going there, so he has given, 10 commandments, that of the conduct, how the conduct should be. 10 commandments we are talking about. Get enlightened with education. Even, that the very Rabindranath Tagore emphasized the role of education. That's the panacea. That's the solution for economic development. He compared with, Japanese. The very, education and as an instrument of, that social change or transforming individual, that only through education, that you can get enlightened yourself. You come out of the clutches of those, the past, the discriminatory practices, the outmoded practices, superstitions. You might be able. So, and find strength through organization. There, he talks about, that satsang, of course, that you be part of an organization. It's otherwise, the emphasis on team spirit. You be, a building institution or being part of it. Ultimately, you undergo the process. You cooperate, you contribute, you coordinate. That's fantastic. You strengthen yourself by doing that way. That tames you. That creates organization. That organization with greater purpose. As an individual, you need team to fulfill that, greater purpose. That's fantastic. And attain progress through industry, hard work. Progress by hard work. That way, that the wheel, dharma chakra, of course, that the hard work, of course, we are talking about, that we talk about, industry. It's that way, hardworking, you see the progress all around, getting across all spheres. That you attain that progress. But of course, you have to understand purpose and direction we are talking. That's different. Attain progress through industry. This is according to, Sree Narayana Guru. 10 commandments we are talking. So don't speak caste, ask caste, or think caste. Only South Indians, you see the names without caste title. But if you go to, except South India, even in Andhra, of course, you talk about Naidu, Rao, Reddy, and Shetty in, that Aishwarya Rai, of course, that in the Karnataka, you come to know, that ultimately in all other states, that you see the caste. But, in Tamil Nadu, because, the thanks to that rationalization movement, of course, that no discrimination. And even Dravidar Kazhagam, the self-respect movement, of course. You needed, that you needed Adi Shankara, you needed Periyar also. You needed, the Periyar, great Sankaracharya. I'm not talking about other guys. The great Sankaracharya, you need Periyar also to this level. Too much of everything is bad. There should be a balance. As you respect Astika, you should respect Nastika also. If you don't want Nastika, you don't want alternative opinion. And then you are promoting, oneness. Uniformity is death. Unity in diversity survives long. That, of course, otherwise, if you promote, that uniformity here, what about the global scenario? If they think that way, what will happen? If all developed countries thinking that way, uniformity, what will happen? We have to think, that there should be, a long-lasting solution for everything. Not, that there should be farsightedness on our part. So otherwise, that we should not misunderstand religion. For some people, self-experience. We have to understand, that don't speak. So of course, the South India, even today, the rationalization, thanks to that rationalization, the don't speak caste, don't ask caste, don't think caste. That when I travel for different guest lectures in North India, some people used to directly ask me, what's your caste, sir? Some people feel proud about the caste. Oh my God. It is not by birth, it's by your deed. பிறப்பொக்கும் எல்லா உயிர்க்கும் தக்கார் தகவிலார் என்பார்தம் எச்சத்தார் காணப்படும். What you leave, the legacy to the humanity. That speaks more. It's not where you are coming from, but where you are heading towards. Dr. Kalam says, your birth is incident, but your death will become history. Will become history. Oh my God. So don't speak caste as caste, think caste, that way. There are some guys polarizing, dividing people. They are very strictly adhering to that. At the end of the day, that even within a caste, that it's no more caste, class, please. I'm asking all caste leaders, do you marry your son and daughter to your low caste, to the, the poor guy of your caste? Is it happening? Will it happen? You are ready to go for intercaste marriages also. For the sake of, that the marital agreement, that of course the political alliance. That's happening. We're talking about, of course, that you have to connect. Of course, that is what Sree Narayana Guru emphasizes. Don't speak caste. Don't ask caste. Think caste. Because, all, because, that's what the very principle, that Om Sahodaryam. Let me talk about that. Om Sahodaryam, come on. Om Sahodaryam Sarvatra. All men are equal in the eyes of the God. That's what the thing, when that is a scenario, what is the use? You might be aware. Even, that even the greatest religious people, the Valmiki, even, the Krishna Yadava, you have to understand. So, even though, the Ravana is said to be, that evil force as per Ramayana, is the greatest Shiva devotee. Are you aware? They're talking about. So, Dr. Subramaniam Swami, he has got different theory that as if he traces origin of Ravana from north somewhere. That he's not from, it's that way, of course, the thing that there is, that only one caste, one religion, one God, one caste, one religion, one God. What is that caste? Humanism is the caste, according to, the Sree Narayana Guru we are talking about. So, whatever be the religion, it is sufficient if it is good for mankind, as long as it's benefiting the mankind. Science without humanity, we spoke, one of the seven sins, according to Mahatma Gandhi. Whatever it benefits the mankind, of course, the humanity, that whatever be the religion, it's not Hinduism alone. There are, as Swami Vivekananda said, that all religions are true, different paths to same destination. Whatever may be the religion, if it is sufficient, that if it is good for the mankind, it is sufficient, good for the mankind. So that tames you. It's a code of conduct. You have to understand. It's not fighting in the name of religion. If that is what, for great men, religion is a tool for connecting people. For small men, religion is a tool for dividing people. And go beyond religion, be spiritual. You try to appreciate God in everybody. That demands next level of maturity. Next level of nobody is less. Nobody is less. The very wisdom created me. The same wisdom created me. All are equal. It is that way. Of course, we are talking about. Of course, ability differs as, accordingly you. That's difference. You make difference. That's different scenario. But there is no special entitlements for that. At the end of the day, we get reduced to a tumbler of ash or 6 feet land, and that will be given to later to some other dead bodies. Come on. We're talking about. So, whatever, the difference in faith, the dress or language, all, the humanity belongs to one caste. There is no harm in intercaste marriage and interdining, because all were part of caste system. They were called taboos. That a taboo, that what is that? Connubial taboo, commensal taboo. Interdining was not allowed. Intercaste marriages not allowed. The pakka food, kacha food, the vessels utilized by lower caste people will be, the sprinkled water ultimately when upper caste, they're trying to take it out. All, the social discrimination you come to know, that if you go to, the rigidity, that's why the caste system, that acquired rigidity. We're talking about, the blatant violation of the inherent worth of every human being. That's why we're talking about. So, do not make liquor. Of course, that hello, lot of, that in Tamil Nadu, you got peculiar scenario. Two political parties are partners in making, in supplying liquors to the government task mark. So the all social sector, hospitals and education institutions run by private institutions. They should be run by government institutions for the welfare of people, but they are run by private people. Why? Commercialization. Because they are the lobby, they ultimately finance these political parties. There are some political leaders also. The task mark is run by government. For that, they've got justification, they have to pay out salary. And one minister gone to the record saying that, so, the very freebies, now 2,500 rupees, they gave recently, Pongal Inam, like, some freebies. It immediately came back to the government treasury. How? Through tax mark. Eh? Even for, that for every vote, that the cash is given, whatever money you give, you don't worry. All politicians speaking that way. Whatever money, even if you give 50,000 rupees per vote, it will come back to us. How? That guy will come and, the pay in hospital. We are running hospital. That guy will pay in our institution. We are running already, that institutions, schools and colleges. That guy will pay in our task mark where we are partners. Oh my God. So idea, that two political parties, they are partners, but in government, they are opposition party, ruling party. They are partners in supplying. Are you aware? Partners in crime. Oh my God. Don't make liquor, don't drink it, and don't sell it. Of course, that the very Indian society, Somabana, Surabana, intoxicating drink. There are some local deities, that we worship. The Pavada Ryan, I think I heard some rural area. They put, that liquor. Are you aware? Arak and worship. Such is the, of course, the temperance. It is otherwise temperance, the value system we are talking about. Spend judiciously. That moderate path. Here you come to know moderate path as preached by Aristotelian golden mean, as preached by Buddhism, the moderation path. You come to know everything. Ladies and gentlemen, 1 second. Let me drink water. Spend judiciously. That here, let me recall here, Warren Buffett statements. If you buy the things which you don't need, you have to sell things which you badly needed. That on investment note. So spend judiciously, that it is that way, you should know. It should address need, not greed. It's over then. But of course, as long as you generate more income, that's justified. Your smart thinking. Of course, let's one caste, one religion, one God for man. One God for man. Of course, the one caste is otherwise humanism we are talking about. So the 10th commandment, man who knows dharma should work hard for the progress and well-being of his name. Got the point now? Take care of your neighborhood in the gated community, everywhere. At least, don't harm them if you're not contributing something. Hmm? So, don't stop them, don't spoil them. You contribute. If not possible, don't stop them. Don't trouble them at least. What is that way? That if you don't take care of your neighbors, India's neighborhood first policy also speaking that way. If you don't take care of your neighbors, you can't stay in peace. Even Gujarat doctrine reinforcing that particular principle we are talking about. Take care of your neighborhood first. What is Gujarat doctrine? Non-reciprocal help extended to the neighboring countries. Don't expect anything in return. All your small neighbors. When there is a crisis, they will say, Bhaiya, acha, that they will support you. Maza aayega. Maza aayega, Bhaiya. Bahut boliye, Bhaiya. You'll get that support naturally. That in the international fora, we need our cartel lobby. The man who knows dharma should work hard and for the progress. But of course, now we mentioned purpose and direction also, right? And well-being of his neighbor. Take care of your neighbor. If you take care of others, the God will take care of you. There is another saying also we are talking about. Ooran பிள்ளையை ஊட்டி வளர்த்தால் தன் பிள்ளை தானே வளரும். When you take care of, that the welfare of others, you need not worry about your welfare. God will take care. Otherwise, when you are already capable of taking care of the problems of others, you yourself will never become problem to you. Your career path is well laid out. So try to be solution for bigger problems so that you never become problem for yourself. It's almost like Irugodugal Tattvam. When you try to solve the bigger problem, you never become, the problem. It's very easy. Because, when comparing with that, the extent size, it's very trivial. Otherwise, you surpassed all these things. That's why you are capable to solve this, greater issues. We are talking about what may be, of course, dharma, because dharma, artha, kama. The dharma we are talking about, righteousness. As that let me recall here, Dr. Kalam, that righteousness, where there is righteousness in the heart, there will be beauty in the character. When there is beauty in the character, There'll be harmony in the home. When there is harmony in the home, there'll be order in the nation. When there is order in the nation, there'll be peace in the world. So linking the righteousness on the part of individual with global peace, do you understand? So charity begins at home. Dharma, be the change that you wish to see in the world. That's what Mahatma Gandhi said. It's not keep on complaining, complicating. We are tired now, all negativity. Come on, let's do something. Nowadays, I'm tired, that because for ethics' sake, that for to connect with you, that I'm forced to touch that some negativity so that you understand better. But otherwise, we don't like, full of negativity everywhere, even the social media. I'm sorry. So, that tired of complaints. Let's be part of solution. No worry. Worry is the misuse of imagination we are talking about. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, 10 commandments you understood. That in every commandment you see the value system. You might be aware. That's the very purpose. Of course, instead of quotes, that we started discussing, that the very commandments are the part of, that, of course, Sree Narayana Guru. Not only that, the religious tolerance he is talking about. Because, that he would have witnessed the Catholicity. Of course, that, so, the whole Kerala can be, that what do you see? The very patch of Kerala, of course, that the very north, that the middle south, the south Hindus, it's almost like that. That the middle, of course, you talk about Christians, north, of course, Muslims. You see the religious division of the Kerala land, of course, that you might be aware. We are talking about, where definitely, that one particular religion is trying to maintain its own supremacy, as if they speak, my religion is the best religion in the world. He would have witnessed everything. That's what, he expects us to, practice the religious tolerance. Of course, believed men should live in amity. Amity means friendship and harmony. We should live in harmony and, the friendship, hobnobbing relationship. We should not enter into hatred or polarization or division. If you don't see inherent worth or inherent potential of your own fellow human being, how come I can believe that you are worshipping Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, Lord Jesus, Lord Allah, Lord Buddha, not Lord Buddha? How come I can believe that? கண்ணுக்கு கடவுளாக தெரியும் உனது சகோதரனையே உனது நண்பனையே நீ வணங்காவிட்டால் கண்ணுக்கே தெரியாத அந்த கடவுளை நீ வணங்குவதை நான் எப்படி நம்புவது? பொய், டிராமா, காலமல, fraud. That's what happening everywhere. Na? How come I can believe? Show off. Oh my God, come on. So believed men should live in, that hobnobbing relationship, harmony we are talking about. So he advocated, Sree Narayana Guru advocated religious tolerance, compassion. But prior to that, I say, that why hatred? Love everybody. But to love everybody, you have to accept everybody. You accept everybody, you love. You love leads to acceptance. If you accept, you don't need tolerance. That I'm not giving corrections to Sree Narayana Guru. My humble attempt, I'm talking parallelism, that's all. But Sree Narayana Guru said he advocated religious tolerance. Of course, that, don't enter into conflict. Don't enter into hatred or polarization, division. Practice compassion, the humanistic value. Compassionate. Be kind to every kind. Because, that it is that way. But in the environmental domain, we speak not only mankind. It is that way we talk about, so observations, that reflect, his thinking. Religion of, this is what, the very observations that we arrive at based on the Narayana Guru's, that preachings, the teachings, his contribution, that of course through his life, of course, his mission, SNDP movement, that you come to know what is that. The religion of man will find its perfection only when the cult ahimsa preached by the Lord Buddha. So got the point now? So only when the cult ahimsa preached by Lord Buddha, even Mahavira also, that part of it, of course, you might be aware. And love by Jesus, ahimsa by Lord Buddha, even, but what Sree Narayana Guru spoke, we are discussing, okay? So love by Jesus and fraternity by, that Islam, of course, Muhammad Nabi, and philosophical thoughts of, the rishis of India. You take, good things from everywhere. மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பது அறிவு. எப்பொருள் யார் யார் வாய் காட்பினும், கேட்பினும் அப்பொருள் மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பது அறிவு. That run after the truth, because he was wandering, that in pursuit of truth as Vanaprastha. You might be aware. To forest, caves, he shows and did meditation and his association with other spiritual people. Religion of man will find its perfection when it becomes complete. It's not staying with one particular religion or its spirit and speaking, the boasting about it or talking about supremacy. Because the truth is same, but different manifestations in the name of different religions. All religions are, otherwise called code of conduct, the code of ethics, code of conduct, so that you lead, peaceful life, good life, ethical life, moral life. You lead a happy life. But unfortunately, what happened, right? We became like, that marketing executive for every religion, and supremacy, that otherwise, that superiority, subordinate or superordinate relationship or statuses, we started according. That's the problem. That's the problem. As if, that we have become, that strong, staunch supporter of a particular religion at the cost of other religions. That's bad. So religion of man will find its perfection when it will, the religion will get perfection only when the cult of ahimsa preached by, that Lord Buddha, love by Jesus, fraternity by, that Islam, of course, Muhammad Nabi, the philosophical thoughts of the rishis of India find their confluence. Got the point? Now they should come together. It's not add, and that the consummation we are talking about, end, consummation, end. We are talking about the end point. That is, the religion becomes complete, by taking into account good of all we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So it is the confluence, coming together of all, because, that's similar. The truth is similar. The value systems are similar. The code of ethics or code of conduct we are talking about, the paganists and hotheads of, the multifarious, the religions, the plead for supremacy. You come to my religion, I'll give you that, this. Are you marketing executive? Or are you political leader, that running after, membership? I don't, that subscribe these theories, the Garbhapsi, whatever may be, whatever may be the religion. Who are you? Are you appointed, that marketing executive for a particular religion? Who gave you authority? Have you seen God? Or is it for your self-experience? That comes another question. So we talk about, multifarious religions, the plead for supremacy of their own, that religion, as blind men. What happened now? It's almost like each and every religious people saying that my religion is better. It's how it looks almost now. So according to Sree Narayana Guru, that how blind men, that try to establish, that by touching, that the elephant, the identity of elephant. A guy who touched, that ultimately, you might be aware, a leg, he said it's almost like, that a pillar. Touched, that stomach, he said, it's a rock. Oh my God, that. So a blind man tried to establish identity of an element, that elephant, elephant, Ane, elephant, that, the Gajamuha, by touching the part of the body of elephant, that element, that by touching the part of the body of, that elephant we are talking about, that it's not element, elephant you take into account, that elephant. Why? The see replacement happening, of course. So let that, by, the diversity of profession, nationality, and language, let that, that ultimately, let that be, the diversity of profession, not by, let that be diversity of profession we are talking about. It's almost unity in diversity. That's what, that the very Sir Rabindranath Tagore spoke, the yesterday video. You please watch that. It's not uniformity, unity in diversity. Even Swami Vivekananda says Hinduism, unity in diversity. Cultural part, cultural pluralism. Because we have to understand it that way. So diversity of profession, nationality, language among men. So man without compassion is tantamount to lifeless mass of flesh, emanating from foul stink. It's almost scolding. That if you are not compassionate, what happened, right? That your lifeless mass of flesh, what is the use now? Pindam. It is that way, of course, that too, from foul stink we're talking about, man without compassion. It's almost like scolding. Ahimsa is the greatest of the all virtues. Ahimsa, that not to cause harm. Because, here, the foundation of environmental ethics. Vaadiya payirai kandabodellam vaadinate. Even the very Vallalar in Tamil, that, because Thaipusam you're heading towards. Vadalar, the Vallalar, who said Jiva Karunya principle. Whenever I see a plant is dying, I feel as if I'm dying. That, the source that begins from here, ahimsa. Even Buddhism and Jainism, you talk about ahimsa. Because that we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, even Mahatma Gandhi got the influenced by that ahimsa, satyagraha. Of course, the weapon with which he fought British, that mighty or that empire ultimately brought down. You might be aware. So the weapon, that demands courage, the unwavering commitment. A coward cannot practice, that satyagraha. You might be aware. So that's different story we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So what is that? The observations, that of this Sree Narayana Guru, that we are discussing, of course. What is that? Observations that reflect, that his thinking, Sree Narayana Guru, that we fought for Irava, of course, for the purpose, and fought against, opposed all those oldest tradition, discriminating the people based on, caste system. You might be aware. What is that? We are discussing, that SNDP movement, everything. So the great spiritual master taught religious tolerance, that a social harmony. We're talking about, it is that way, that it's not, you try to accommodate yourself with other faiths also. And also social harmony at the end of the day, that we talk about. And social harmony, we speak that way. His teachings have social orientation, rooted in society, not individual. Rooted. You are part of the solution. He addressed the grievances on the part of the society. Sacrifice of his life in pursuit of truth, ultimately. His spiritual experience. And he became part of the solution. Then we're talking about that, that through his, his spirituality benefited the humanity. That's what we are talking about. So concerned about the plight of the poor and downtrodden and work for their welfare. Of course, through various missionaries activities we are talking about. That of course, establishment of schools, the colleges. Even today you witness, of course, that. So in his essential spiritual practices, he followed, sacred traditions like, other great saints. That essential spiritual practices, he followed sacred traditions. Of course, that of course you witness, that he's also, the traveling the similar path. Of course, the point is that benefits the humanity. That's what, without discrimination, it's open to all caste people. Because let me repeat, one caste, one religion, one God. That is what Sree Narayana Guru we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. I think it is right time, that let me take you to the next, that of course, that the end of this particular discussion, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to enrich, of course, that the very the subject matter, ethics and integrity, the basic exposure should be, that on lexicon and Subbarao and also Ramesh K. Arora. We are talking about, and also when it comes to ethics in public administration, second Administrative Reform Commission report we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to go through, that a variety of videos we have already put on the part of, that Unacademy, the YouTube channel. As I said, that Western moral thinkers, that the very Immanuel Kant, John Bodley Rawls, of course, Western moral thinkers, as I said, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and English utilitarians. I did not tell about this. The British utilitarians, Jeremy Bentham, John Stuart Mill, utilitarianism, based on the principle hedonism. Of course, universal specific case. We are talking about altruistic hedonism. Otherwise, what is that? So maximum happiness for maximum people with minimal damages. Democracy is clear-cut example for that. You might be aware. And then, Immanuel Kant's, categorical imperatives, John Bodley Rawls, Rawlsianism, otherwise you call, where you move from equality to equity. Ladies and gentlemen, and we spoke about, that Indian ethics in the introduction itself, the several videos already part of Unacademy YouTube channel, you please watch them. So, that Indian ethics, that Indian philosophy, when you talk about, it's spiritual bound, the way of life, style of life, that structured in such a way. Of course, here you got, orthodox, heterodox. In orthodox, we spoke, that astika, there exists. Of course, heterodox, nastika. The nastika people, they don't accept, the presence of God. They don't give approval to the Vedas and associated, the practices too. You might be able. In astika, of course, orthodox school, we spoke about, Mimamsa, Samkhya, that Vedanta. Of course, that Vaisheshika, the Nyaya, Yoga. But whereas heterodox school, we spoke about Ajivika, Ajnanas. We discussed already, I'm talking about Charvakas, Buddhism, Jainism. And also, that the people, of course, the greatest people we discussed, that the people like, Swami Vivekananda, of course, that Sir Rabindranath Tagore and Sri Aurobindo Ghosh we are talking about. And today, Sri Narayana Guru, in continuation, not only that, even Chanakya, the colossus of Tamil literature, Tirukural, by Thiruvalluvar, we spoke at length. Ladies and gentlemen, you please, that go through to benefit more. Not only that, several case studies, that were discussed, that you can, having downloaded the app, you can, witness, that all these topics, came the last means. That's what we are talking about. Even the Buddhism and Jainism in elaboration, even Charvakas, we discussed. It came, the emotional intelligence, the concepts I'm talking about. Please watch all those videos to benefit more. When I said the case studies, of course, that it's part of, the having downloaded the app, you please watch those. Several case studies we already discussed, that may give you with template, the smart way of solving, case studies. Under that title, we have given the variety of, the case studies and solutions you might be aware. Ladies and gentlemen, I think, that, so this is right time. Let me, that quick, that review of, that we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, that having introduced ethics and integrity, the ethical dilemmas are constraints, that what you witness on your day-to-day life, that and cutting across different domains we are talking about. That after that, ladies and gentlemen, we took you to the very spirit of, Sree Narayana Guru, how his spiritualism, the benefited the humanity, otherwise how it became, relevant to ethics and integrity, the very subject matter, the part of GS4, the mains, which has got the responsibility of contributing to the tune, the tune of, 250 marks, you might be aware. Of course, that his experience, of course, we are talking about what is that. So one caste, one, that religion, one God. That's a principle. Not only that, we spoke at length, that we took you to the context, that from there, the very concepts originated, how, his social background, of course, that he witnessed, the rigid caste system and untouchability, the discriminatory practices, that though he's born in respectable family, a child prodigy, of course, quick learner, we're talking about, became scholastic also, his exposure with traditional subjects too. Not only that, the well versed in terms of, that literary works, and beyond that, of course, that he became in a spiritual wanderer, that spent days in forests and caves, sea shores, and his association with other spiritual people, of course, you might be aware. And his spiritual experience, not only that, and also, that the mystic elements, that attached with him, his devotees keep on, explaining about that. Some miracle things happened in his life, you might be aware. We discuss. And not only that, that, so he became, through his, spiritual experience, that spiritual, that leader he became. But not only that, the very spiritual values, the character ethics, and also started addressing social issues. He became part of the solution. That's what very important, ladies and gentlemen. And he's, he started addressing the plight of downtrodden people, especially. That's what, that we spoke, Sree Narayana Dharma Paripalana movement, especially SNDP Yogam, we discussed, and also his religious mission, that how, that we spoke at length, and also, that the establishment of Shiva temple, how, the very the consecration of the Shiva idol done by him, that went against the Brahmin authority. Of course, the motto, that so the very, that the world should be free from, polarization or division in the name of caste or hatred of, that the competing, faiths. Of course, that is even today it is relevant. We are talking about, that world as one family, or Vasudeva Kudumbaham. Of course, that. So not only that, the Sahodaryam Sarvatra, we are talking about, that the very value system he believed in, having founded Advaita Ashram at Alua. What is that? All men are equal in the eyes of God. That's what the essence we are talking about. That he gave education, that to all people of all castes, you might be aware. It is that way, though, he was, that witnessing that discrimination. And, that Sree Narayana Dharma Paripalana movement, of course, that a society for the propagation of moral teaching, we spoke already. What for the cause of, that Idavas, Toddy Tapas, and 10 commandments, that are, of course, reflecting the value systems, that meant for ethics and integrity we are talking about. That we said the role of, that education and be part of organization, the progress through, that your hard work, of course, industry, and also, that don't, that speak about the caste as caste, think caste. That is that way, that's what, caste in his version now, humanism. So one caste, one God, one religion. One caste, one religion, one God, we are talking about Sree Narayana Guru. So, that, of course, that this particular slogan, where one caste, according to him, is humanism, that it is that way. So, whatever be the religion, that as long as it is beneficial for the mankind, it is sufficient. He says, that then no need of rushing to this religion, that religion. You simply change the title. The spirit is not changing, because, in all religions, you see the common truth. The truth is same. Manifestations are different. Even Swami Vivekananda re-endorsing that particular view. That, of course, you see the similarity with the other. That not only that, ladies and gentlemen, of course, that So unity in diversity, he's emphasizing, of course, that, and he promotes, that he's in favor of intercaste marriages, interdining too. So all human, that humanity belonging to one particular caste, of course, humanism values he is emphasizing. Not only that, the temperance, and also, that the spend balance between need and greed. He emphasizes the moderate path, middle path, that you witness in the case of Buddhism as well as, Aristotle's, the golden mean, ladies and gentlemen. So, the similar values getting reflected in different thinkers, that the contribution of different philosophers, social scientists, of course, you come to know. And also, that the dharma, the very practice of dharma, you should work hard. Of course, even the very Hinduism where we talk about it, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. The purusharthas, the four pillars according to Hinduism. But dharma, artha, kama, even the colossus of Tamil literature, Tirukkural also reinforcing that. Dharma, artha, kama, the aran, porul, inbam. You equate with that. Not only that, so with the dharma, that you should work hard for the progress. Not only that, and also, that you ensure the well-being of your own neighborhood, your community. You take into account, you have community interests, but it should not become communalism. Love your caste, it's not Sree Narayana Guru said, I'm simply telling you. You can love your caste, doesn't, that nothing wrong in that, but that should not be at the cost of somebody else's caste. Then it becomes casteism. That's what the problem. So it's instead, that have one caste, humanism values. So that's what Sree Narayana Guru says, one caste, one religion, that one God for men. Of course, that he's in front of the eyes of God, we are all equals. That's what the principle. Of course, the observation also, no religion, that the religion, when it becomes complete, only when you take into account, that the ahimsa from Buddha, love from Jesus, fraternity from Islam or Muhammad Nabi, or philosophical thoughts of rishis of India. Only when you take into account, that the good things from different religions, of course, they become confluence of, the good things of all religions ultimately, that becomes end. That becomes end. He also, that believed in, that hobnobbing or friendly relationship with all men, and, that all, the human beings, and also harmonious living, and advocated religious tolerance and be compassionate, humanistic. We spoke at length, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is, that right time. And also, it's not speaking, that superiority on the part of the religion. It's almost like, that the blind men, that try to describe about elephant, that by touching, that any one of the elements of elephant, it's almost equivalent to that. Spoke about, that the very unity in diversity, whatever may be your profession, that the nationality, language, that we are all same. That's the point, that he emphasizes. And if you don't have, the compassion, almost you are lifeless, mass of flesh. It's, that emanating from foul stink, that is what the point of difference, that we, that it's a mark of difference as a humanity we are talking about, that nowadays you see, that all other species, they show affection. But what about humanity? You see communal violence, hatred, religious fundamentalism, forced religious conversion, terrorism. What is this? That, of course, that the violence also, centrifugal tendencies also. So ahimsa as the greatest of all values, as per, that Sree Narayana Guru. Ladies and gentlemen, we spoke at length. Not only that, that all of his, the teachings are social orientation, spoke about religious tolerance and, the social harmony. He fought for the, the plight of, the poor and downtrodden people. Even SNDP movement, very clear-cut example, you might be aware. So, that he also followed, that like great saints, the very, that sacred traditions we're talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, we spoke about reference materials too. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the right time. That let me appreciate your passions, your passion, your involvement. I think I would have made, your time worthwhile, I believe. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my humble attempt. This is my humble attempt to present Sree Narayana Guru. Of course, one of the, the great thinkers, of course, the responsible for enriching the subject matter of ethics and integrity. Part of your GS, that the 4 of your means has the responsibility of 250 marks, you might be aware. Of course, that, so you can also, that reach me through, that you can also watch rest of the videos of mine, the YouTube channel, of course, that of Unacademy, and also download the app and watch other videos, even live videos, part of, that the platform too. Ladies and gentlemen, please, that use my referral ID, the success to avail maximum 10% discount. Please go for, the iconic program and plus program, you benefit more. Let me appreciate your participation once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath. Hitherto interacted with you. Hope I would have made your time with the blessings of Almighty God worthwhile, I believe. Ladies and gentlemen, Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Good night. That let's meet. That in another session. That with fantastic. That the difference. That let's try to make in that way. Let me be relevant to you and be part of your solution. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, everyone. Good night. Thank you.